We have George from SoundTraxx, and I really appreciate him taking the time out tonight to give us a little inside scoop, a sneak preview, a factory tour. How's it going, Paul? And good to see Paul there. And thank you, George. Appreciate it. And so, George, basically, you were kind enough to open the doors for to show us the inside scoop of SoundTraxx. And SoundTraxx, as a lot of people know, it is made in America. Very few model railroad companies do have products that are made in America. So you guys are probably one of the few model railroad companies out there that are doing amazing things, built in the USA, waving that American flag in the background. So I'm very curious to see how you guys managed to pull this one off, because a lot of the other manufacturers out there say, oh, well, it can't be done. It's too technical over here. But you guys are living proof that it can be done. So I guess, George, what's your, I guess, before we kick it off and do the tour, anything you want to kick off, start saying?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. And it is something that we're very proud of, the fact that we do build here in the States. And it is something that, let's see, it's saying something weird here, but hopefully we're still broadcasting.
Yep.
Okay. I'm getting weird messages on my screen here. So
that's okay.
But we do build here. So we engineer, we design, we manufacture all of the components here in our facility in Durango, Colorado, and we're going to go take a look at that today. What we'll do is we'll head downstairs, and I've actually gotten the green light to take you guys out on the floor, and so you'll see some stuff that you wouldn't normally see if you showed up, which we invite you to do if you do want to come see the factory. You are invited to come see us. If you're in Durango, Colorado, just give us a shout and let us know when you'll be available. We usually offer tours at 4:30 on whatever day, weekdays when we're here. And, we're happy to show it off. So it is something to be proud of. So I guess without any further ado, let's take you through the building. We'll go downstairs really quickly, see the manufacturing floor, and then we'll come back up here. We'll meet the rest of the crew, and then we'll field questions and answers there towards the end.
And George, you also do something in the summer, correct? Or is that dealers only?
Well, we had been doing a dealer training seminar over the summer where we invite the dealers to come out and learn about the product. This year, we're actually looking at expanding its capabilities, because we're looking into some things like webinar or something like that, both not just for the dealers, but also for the end user. So you guys would have an open forum where we can talk directly, either online or whatever, so that way we can answer questions, show you guys all the factory stuff, and teach you some tricks and hints that we may not be able to get the chance to do quickly on the phone or anything like that, or so we'll. So here's a really quick overview of the manufacturing floor. This is in a clean room environment. So I got to go put on my special smock and my special booties to make sure I'm not bringing any contaminants in. But it's an airtight building or room. The air pressure inside the room is actually higher inside than it is outside. And the reason for that is because it blows air or contaminants off of your body instead of allowing you to carry them in, which is one of the ways we help keep the quality going. So bear with me a second. I got to sit on the bench here and
no problem.
Put my booties on here.
Yeah, just for the people who are just joining us, we're going inside the factory of SoundTraxx. It actually looks like a doctor's office. It is very, very clean, neat. You could probably eat off the factory floor. But I guess when you're using technology, DCC, decoder chips, all that electronics, I'm assuming it has to be a clean working atmosphere. George is going to turn into a Smurf in 5 minutes when he puts on his apron and all that stuff. So just hang on, and we'll be in the big blue suit. So just hang tight.
Yeah, so when I've got everything on here, let's turn this around. So first of all, you can kind of see there's my anti-static coat that I have to wear, and then we've got the protective booties on my shoes.
Huh. Now,
So that way,
what's the concept behind this for again the booties and the apron?
it's designed to minimize the amount of contaminants that I'm going to bring in. The smock helps prevent with anti-static buildup, and then the the booties keep contaminants that I might carry in on the bottom of my feet.
Wow.
Make sure they're contained. I know there's been some companies that'll do contract work, say at your house or something like that, and they'll put these things on again to protect carrying stuff through and tracking it through the living room. So this is kind of one of the steps that we use. Now, I don't work on the floor myself. Now, some of the guys that are here on the floor actually have their own special anti-static shoes. And so
right.
I'll introduce you to Tag here really quickly. I'm going to turn the camera around, and we'll kind of show him off.
How's it going, buddy?
How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing well, thanks. And so you can kind of see he's got his own special shoes there that he'll wear. Yeah, they're ESD shoes. So, so I guess without any further ado, let's walk you through the machines here really quickly and kind of talk about the life of a decoder and what it takes to build everything.
Wow.
So first I'll take you over to the programming station, and we'll get to see all this cool machinery here in just a little bit. This one's a really cool one. You guys will really like seeing this one.
Huh.
We'll get that one fired up for you here in just a minute. So the first stage is what we do is we have to pre-flash and pre-program the processors and the sound ROMs. And so this machine here that you're seeing on the table will actually do that for us.
Wow.
It will actually go through and we'll take a tray of processors, for example, and we'll put it on there. And this machine will take a robotic arm, take it out, and put it into the trays in the middle here where you can kind of see, and then it'll actually flash program it. Let me see if the component is still here. Once upon a time, we used to have to do these one at a time. And so we used to have this type of machine or this type of fixture here where our technicians would put the chip inside of there. I guess let me center it real quick. So our technicians would put the chip inside, snap it down into place, and then on a computer would type some stuff and it would flash it one at a time. So it would take a long time to program a lot of these decoders. And so this machine helps speed up the process, but also frees up the technician now to do other tasks on the floor.
Very
so
cool.
Here's where we pre-program and pre-flash all of the sound ROMs and the processors. So once those are done, they come back over to these other machines. Now we're going to get to see some of the cool stuff. So the first thing is what we do is we have to lay out the boards. And the boards come to us as a raw panel like this, where we contract these. These are built here domestically as well. And these panels are basically, you see where all the components and everything will fit. You can kind of see where the processor sits over here. And depending on the size of the decoder, there may be 5, 6, 10, 15 decoders on a panel. It just depends, like I said, on what the design of the circuit board is. So this first machine we're looking at here is it's the solder paste machine. Basically, it's a stencil printer. So on there, you're going to see a stencil. And what this machine will do is it does a quick camera alignment of the circuit board to make sure everything's lined up where it's supposed to. Then once everything is lined up properly, it'll press the circuit board up against this stencil. And as you can see, it's kind of smearing a solder paste through the stencil onto the circuit board. Now, the solder paste is tacky material, but it's basically solder and flux kind of mixed together. Once this process is done, the machine will then go through and do a camera check to verify and make sure there's no bridges, make sure all the components are soldered where they're supposed to be, or the solder is where the components are going to be. And then once that's all approved, Then it'll move over to the next machine. And the next machine, these are the pick and place machines. So as we talked about, the processors are pre-flashed. Here's the trays of the processors and the sound ROMs. And what our technicians do is they'll mark the sound ROMs ahead of time so that they know what flavor and what sound files are on it, so that when they go through the machine, that way we can build the proper amount of everything. Now these components will actually get here. They'll actually be on a reel. So these are different reels of resistors, diodes, and things like that. And what this robotic machine will do is it'll take this tray in, and you can kind of see a circuit board in place. It'll pull it in, and it will put the parts into the right locations. And that solder paste, as we talked about, is tacky. So it holds the components in the circuit board where they're supposed to go. And so we actually have two machines lined up side by side here that we work on so that you can kind of make sure that you get all the components on one side. So here's the machine working. You kind of see it's quickly running over and grabbing processors and putting them in place off that tray.
How many boards, I guess, can you really make in a day? Is it a lot, or does it?
A lot of it depends on the circuit board, because some of them have more components than others. And so I would say it would vary, because the machine, as you can see, works pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it doesn't really take a whole lot of time to build a circuit board or to populate it. It just depends on the circuit board. So I don't really know what the exact number is. But then again, there's also some downtime, because when you change between one circuit board to another, you have to change out these cassettes. And these are the things that hold the parts. And you can see there's places for two more right there that can be used. And over here, you'll see some of the other bigger components, like some of the diodes and capacitors and stuff like that.
Wow.
You can kind of see how those trays are full on this side of it.
What happens if you press the big red button?
I get fired.
Wow, this is amazing.
We don't press the big red buttons.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's if there's an emergency or if there's an error or anything like that. So one thing I will say about these machines is they do have the capacity to be able to test some of the individual components to verify that the component is within tolerance and specs. So it'll grab the component off of the reel, do a quick flash test, and put it in place on the circuit board, and then go back and grab the next one. And you can see how quickly that's working.
I don't even know how you guys created a machine like this to build it. It's like crazy. This is very impressive.
Oh, we're not even done yet.
Yeah.
This is only the first part.
Yep.
So then once the decoder is populated, it comes through, and you can kind of see it here on this tray. And this belt will come out. You'll see the decoder now that it's all populated. It has the parts on it. So this gap is between here is because our technicians will then do a quick visual inspection of the circuit board and make sure that everything looks okay, make sure there's nothing slightly askew, because it is moving fast. Occasionally you'll see a part will be slightly off kilter a little bit. And so what he does is he'll come over here and he'll do a quick visual inspection. And then this next machine over here is basically an oven. It works just like a giant pizza oven. So he's going to put the circuit board on the belt, and it's going to pull it through. And as you can see on the screen here, each chamber has a varying degree of temperature. So it will slowly heat up the circuit board, melt the solder and the solder paste to put the components into place. And then at the end, as it goes through this machine, it's got several chambers of heat range, so you can kind of come through here. And then afterward, when we come through, we have a populated finished circuit board, and we'll store them on these racks. And then you'll notice that when I grab this one here, you'll see that there's nothing on the other side, because they have to do the machine. They have to go through the machine again, and they'll flip it over and populate the second side, so that way now we've got a two-sided decoder.
Wow.
So once it goes through this machine twice and it goes through and heats everything up, then this is actually something that we're very proud of. This is a machine called the flying probe tester. And as its name implies, there are sets of probes that fly across the circuit board. And
your fingers on the camera. Sorry. Yep.
That's okay. The name implies the probes will fly over the circuit board, and it will test every circuit on there. So once he closes this door, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to do a quick camera alignment. It's going to make sure that the circuit board is in the proper place, and that's what you're seeing happening right now.
Wow.
Then once this goes and verifies alignment, then it's going to go through and you're going to see these probes rapidly fly over the circuit board, and it's going to test every circuit on the decoder to verify that it is making contact, the components are within tolerance, and make sure everything is where it is. So this is one of the big steps that we put into the decoder process to make sure that you and your customers are getting a working decoder the first time. So here you go.
This is some AI crazy stuff.
This is definitely futuristic. It's definitely fun to watch. This is something that we're really proud of because, like I said, it does verify that the decoder is working and in proper condition before we take it and separate the panels.
And I thought a train bringing me a beer on a layout was cool.
Who said that wasn't?
Yeah, this takes it to a whole new level.
Well, now you get quality sounds with space age technology going into it.
Yep. And
so,
sorry,
this will
quick
go
question.
through. No, that sure.
A customer wanted to know if the Bachmann 030 sound value were made on machines like these.
Yep. Every single decoder that we manufacture is built on these machines and go through the same tests that we're doing right now.
Gotcha. Cool.
So again, when we're shipping, thousands of decoders to the manufacturing partners that we work with, we want to make sure that they get a quality product at their factory too, because they're ultimately the final arbiter, of the warranty work. So what they don't want to do is get a faulty product in their models that they then have to service. That will kind of sour the attitude towards a product. And this is one of the reasons why, we do this, is because we do want to make sure that we're getting a good quality product to our customers.
Wow.
So once this finishes up, it'll spit out a report and it'll say everything's A-OK, or it'll say, this component on this decoder failed, and then our technicians will then go through, hand test, verify the failure, and then they can fix the decoder in place. So they may have to replace a resistor or a diode or something along those lines at this point. And so there are special tools that we have to do that.
So this is really why you guys have such great quality control. I mean, it seems like you guys are running a bunch of tests, and these computers, it's amazing I don't think it's possible for a human to even detect all these errors. You have to have this complicated machinery.
It helps quite a bit. But you mentioned human, and so let's talk about our last station stop. So once it finishes off on that machine, then what they do is they come over here, and this is the machine that cuts everything into individual decoders. It looks like just like a giant pizza cutting wheel. So the circuit board is scored, and so it'll slide through this channel right here, and these two wheels will actually cut it into individual decoders.
Wow.
And then once they're cut into individual decoders, they're separated by trays, and that's kind of what you're seeing over there, where each flavor, if you will, is on its own separate tray. And that way they can separate part numbers at this point. Once they're separated, then they come over here to the test station. And basically, let me show you, let me pan out a little bit. And this is where our technicians now hand test every single decoder over and above the machine tests. This is the final verification before we put everything into the packaging. So what you're going to get is you're going to have a command station here that we can go through and test every decoder. We have a circuit board here that we built that basically simulates a locomotive. So you're going to see a motor. Underneath the cone here is actually a speaker. And then below here, you're going to see all the different lights. And this will verify that the decoder is working. So the way it works is we build these special test fixtures, just like this, and they're connected to that circuit board with wires. And so the decoder will actually go in here, and these spring-loaded pins will actually match up to the various locations on the decoder itself, and then they'll pull this lever, lock it into place, turn it on, and then they'll test the decoder. They'll verify everything works the first time, and as soon as they do, they'll turn it off, pop it out, put the approval sticker on it, and then put the decoder off into the final testing station, or the final packaging station ready to go.
And this looks like electrician's playroom.
Kind of, but all those trays up there that you're seeing in the yellow is all the different decoders that we manufacture different circuit boards, different patterns and everything. So this allows us to test every single decoder. And every decoder we manufacture, we make, has 4 to 5 test fixtures here. So we actually have 4 test stations here and 1 on the back side of this that we can actually get 5 stations going if we need to get something out quickly.
Wow. Very cool.
And a lot of times they've actually got multimeters here too, so they can, depending on what they're testing, they can test out all of it. You see all the different harnesses and things like that. So,
wow.
Then
now,
once it's, go ahead.
Sorry, just one question came through.
Sure.
Guy wants to know: are most of the employees model railroad fans, or are they professional electricians, stuff like that?
It's difficult to say. I would say there's upstairs is where more of the model railroaders are. Down here would be more of like a factory approach, so you don't have as many model railroaders down here. They can appreciate what we do because they obviously understand what we do, and they could then appreciate it and have pride in making sure that they have a decoder that goes out the first time working. But as far as model railroaders, I think we're pretty much limited to a few guys upstairs.
Yeah.
Now down here, you may have.
You're a railroad fan. You're a model railroader, George.
Yes, I am.
Don't be shy.
Guilty as
Come
charged.
out there.
Oh, Ken, you know that. You know I bought stuff. I usually don't leave your store empty-handed.
That's right. George usually takes the wheelbarrow out.
Well, I'm not quite James Wright, but with his golden suitcase and
That's
everything.
right.
But I do make sure to leave some money behind for you.
Yeah.
So like I said, I mean, we do have some people that are electricians or engineers by trade, and they kind of work back and forth. And then we have some people that, are interested in the electronic side of it. And then there's just some factory workers. It just depends on the background. But
right.
They all have a pride in doing the job right and being able to say that we build here. So
sure. It's that's a cool thing that you guys get to say. It's built in America, made in America. The factory's very clean. You guys definitely take pride in your work, so that's great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So this station here is the final packaging. This is where they'll put things in bags, put the bag headers, the staples, everything, and finalize it and ready to go. And then once it's ready to go, you can kind of see down here we've got some of the kits, some of the packaging and things like that they use during the assembly process. You're getting a sneak peek here for a new announcement that's coming up. We're going to have a 2-inch by 3-inch speaker that will be added to the product line shortly. We just now finally packaged these up. So these will be good for the guys that are in or large scale. So.
Oh, nice. Very good.
So let me back up just a little bit. If we do have issues, we do have specialized equipment here that we can test and fix and repair the decoders. For example, a microscope here so our technicians can get in there and fix or repair it, and special soldering tools that allow us to go in there.
Looks like night vision goggles.
It kind of does. It's illuminated, and you can kind of see down here the microscope lens. And so what they'll do is they'll put the circuit board under here, and they'll use the screen to see what they're doing. And because they're working with components that are smaller than the tip of a pencil, so very fine skills and a lot of training to be able to do the work that they do. So we're very appreciative of it.
Wow.
Now, go ahead.
Sorry, you could go.
I was just going to say, the one last thing I'll say is, this room was built large enough that at some point down the line, they plan on getting a second set of machines, so it'll be able to double our capacity. But right now, we just don't have, these machines aren't cheap, as you can imagine. So It's not a tomorrow, but at some point down the line, we do have the room to be able to expand if needed.
Now, all those machines handle all the products in your product line, or
Absolutely.
If you expand into a new product, you'll get, I guess, different machines. How does that work?
It kind of depends. Most of the machines handle everything that we manufacture here. The one machine I did kind of gloss over a little bit, that I'll show you really quickly. It's not working. Is this one right here, and this is what's called a selective soldering machine. Everything that we've shown up to date is designed for surface mount. So if, small resistors, things like that, this machine will actually solder through hole And so the way it works is our technicians have to hand place things like the capacitors on the current keeper or the plug headers on a TSU 4400. And what they'll do is this will then go through and verify alignment. And I don't know how well you can see it, but in the middle, you can kind of see the fountain looking thing.
Wow.
And basically, that's exactly what it does. It has a fountain of solder, and then this big robotic arm will take that entire panel and dip it into the solder fountain, because through-hole stuff is a little bit more bulky and a little bit harder to work with. And it takes a technician's time to sit there and hand solder every single one of those joints, because let's say a current keeper, for example, has 5 capacitors. That's 10 solder joints that they have to do on each current keeper. And here you can kind of see what a panel of current keepers looks like. So you can imagine how long it would take to sit and solder that panel of current keepers by hand.
Wow.
So,
I mean, this is pretty amazing. It looks like you work for NASA or something.
well, like I said, it is a clean room, so it's designed to be similar to what you're seeing in a, in a doctor's office or a surgery room,
Yeah.
but it's not quite super NASA level cleanliness, because if so, I would have had to wear a lot more than just the coat and the booties.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you very much for showing that. That's pretty
no
amazing.
problem. So that's pretty much everything I've got down here on the floor to show you guys. We'll say goodbye to Tag, and then we'll change and head back up. Thanks.
Bye.
So, all right, we'll head out.
All
And
right.
let me hang this up really quickly for a moment.
And the Blackstone decoders are made there as well?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, so the Blackstone stuff we'll make here, and then we'll ship it overseas to the factory that's building them for us, so that way we make sure that we build the decoders and we don't have to rely on the third party overseas.
Gotcha. And Larry Linger wants to know, you go through programming decoders with CVs in your YouTube video series. Will you be doing any videos using JMRI and Decoder Pro?
Not really, and part of the reason is because that's a third-party free software,
Gotcha.
and it's not that we don't support it, but it doesn't really. There are things that have been interpreted wrong in the JMRI software, and so because of that, I hesitate to say, oh, you can do it this way, because I don't want to steer people wrong. So when I use the DCC system for programming, I'm making sure that I'm programming the CV correctly the first time.
Gotcha.
So real quick, I'll show you off at the entryway.
Sure.
So when we walk in the door, this is kind of what you see. You've got the door to the manufacturing floor that we just came through.
Very nice.
And then we can go up the stairs and upstairs to the administrative and the executive side of it. Now these stairs, it's really silly. You know, I play hockey and I can play 2 hockey games, but I feel like I climb these stairs once and I'm out of breath. The weirdest thing.
Could only imagine.
So,
but it looks beautiful. And you guys just built this facility, no?
Yeah, we built this. We've moved in. We've been here now a little over 2 years. So part of the thing is that we've all been so busy. Things like decorating and stuff like that are kind of low on the totem pole.
Was that Nancy?
That was Nancy's.
Hey, Nancy.
So Ken says hi. So this is her office, and I will say that all of our offices are a little bit of a wreck right now because we're all so busy. But she has some artwork that have been. She's ready to put them on the wall.
Tell Nancy that I heard George is great at putting picture frames up.
I'm sorry, that's lost in translation, Ken. I don't think it's coming through clearly. So,
nice.
And then we'll kind of walk through here, and we'll introduce you. Well, she's not at her desk, so we'll find her in a minute. But this is Heather's office. She's our other salesperson. Oh, here she comes. There's Heather. Say hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
And how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. So, and then we have Cedric, our accountant, over here.
All right. Hello.
And then this is where I live. Like I said, my desk is kind of a mess right now. It's actually cleaner than it's been.
Yep.
But
no, it's very nice. Very nice.
And then we'll come over here and we'll, this is the room where we had held the SoundTraxx Academy and the SoundTraxx dealer training. It's a lunchroom / meeting room.
Very
and
nice.
so we use it for multiple purposes. And as you can see, we've had some group company meetings and stuff like that in here, so we can do some discussion. We'll walk through the hallway around here and we'll meet Josh, the face of our tech support.
Yep.
He's been with us a little over a month now, and he's actually picked it up really well, and I've been very proud of him. He's been doing extremely well.
Howdy.
So,
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
how you doing, Josh?
Good. How are you guys today?
All right.
So doing well. So as you can kind of see, when he gets decoders back from customers with issues, you're going to notice a very similar pattern right here. You see the test fixture like we talked about up downstairs. We've got the circuit board to simulate a locomotive and a system. And then he's got multiple test fixtures here so he can test various decoders,
What's
things like
the
that
most
as they come in.
common issue? Is it that customers sometimes don't know how to reprogram it, or is it something common or simple?
We do get a lot of factory resets, which kind of speaks to the question a minute ago about the the JMOI, because what will happen is somebody will program something and they'll get a behavior that they didn't expect.
Right.
And so when we come in, we get at the decoder, we do a reset really quickly, and a lot of times the decoder goes back to normal behavior, and so we can send it back.
Right.
On other instances, sometimes we'll see things like where a customer didn't use a speaker that was capable of handling 2 watts and actually ended up damaging the amplifier. Depending on what we can do, we can test. Once we test the decoder, we evaluate it, and then we can fix or replace it as necessary.
Wow.
And then send it back to the customer to make sure that they've got a fully working decoder again the first time.
Very cool.
But this is kind of what we would do to make sure that we get that. So the returns on stuff that are normal component failure, things like that, are extremely rare.
Wow. Very nice.
So,
yeah, it's I definitely noticed more reprogramming issues, and most of the times it's not the decoder that's faulty. You just got to reprogram it correctly.
Yeah, and like I said, it just depends on what it is too, because there's other times where we may run into something that is a DCC system. The way it has to do with the way the DCC signal is sent.
Right.
Each system is a little bit different, and so you'll get some of that. So last stop really quickly here, I'll show you. I'm going to turn the camera around. This is our library, and eventually they plan on getting some chairs and stuff out here where we can sit under the beautiful skylight there and read up on what's going on in the industry and or engineering books and stuff like that. But we do try to keep a lot of books here to give us the tools that we need.
And how do you guys listen to sounds or find sounds?
When we listen to, you're talking about with
train sounds to emulate on the sound decoders.
So usually what we'll do, first of all, we work with the railroad to gain access to the equipment to make sure that what we're getting is the true locomotive.
Right.
And then once we have that, we get the recordings, we take them back here, and our sound engineers will actually work and edit the sound. And what I mean by edit, it's not that they change the sound file, but what they do is they cut it into pieces. So for example, when you and I hear a whistle sound when we blow it out of our decoder, what you're actually hearing is 3 sound clips. You're hearing the attack, which is the sound of the whistle valve opening up. Then you hear what's called the sustained, and the sustained is a small section of that loops over itself over and over and over again, as long as we're holding that whistle button down.
Wow.
And then when they release it, then that's called the decay, or the sound of the whistle valve closing. And what our sound engineer's job is to do is to make sure that all of those sound clips merge together seamlessly. And so he'll watch closely to the sound spectrum on a computer and using specialized software to verify that the ends of those loops and things match, so that when you and I hear it, if we can hear the decoder looping over itself or transitioning from sound clip to sound clip, it ruins the image.
Right.
And so that's where our trained engineers and trained technicians can now get that, as opposed to an amateur audio person who might go out and do a field, hold a microphone up in the air, hope to get the right sounds, and then get back to the to their sound lab, for example, not have everything have to simulate some sound files and simulate this and that to make it sound like it's what they want. And that's part of why we don't offer that, is because not everybody has access to the tools that we do when we do the recording. And so the quality of the recording reflects big on the name, that brand of the decoder. And so we want to make sure that we put quality sound into the decoder, and that way you get quality sound coming out.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very nice. Well,
so
yep.
I was just going to add one more little thing to it. So when you talk about something like a diesel prime mover, where you have idle, notch 1, notch 2, notch 3, and transitions up and down accordingly, our sound engineer has to listen to all of that and find those transition seams to make it work and sound just like a real diesel engine.
Wow, very cool. And thank you so much, George, for showing us and taking the time to, I guess, delve into the SoundTraxx factory. I mean, it's just unbelievable, clean. It looks like a actual, I don't know, some kind of computer science project. It's amazing how all these things are built and made, and I still don't understand how someone could create something like that. It's just mind-blowing. You got to have really smart people and engineers, and it's amazing what this world could create now. It's just unbelievable. But again, for all the people out there, SoundTraxx is one of the, if not the leading decoder company out there for their sound. Their quality is just very, very good. It's made in the USA. It's amazing quality, really great products. We carry the full line. They're even making economy line, which is a less expensive, more affordable line that offers, great sound features and for a great price. So they're going into different lines and different products, and they also produce Blackstone models, which is HON3. And, we've been starting to carry that maybe like 2 or 3 years, George? No?
Yeah, I think it's been relatively recent, but you guys have been doing extremely well with it. So.
Yes, so it's a great product, really well built, and again, quality sound decoders. So definitely check on our website for SoundTraxx and Blackstone models. And George, I thank you so much for popping through, and all the guys. We actually answered pretty much all their questions while walking through. So.
Okay. The only thing I'll add really quickly, we talk about made in America, and that's a big thing that we're proud of. We build here. Unfortunately, it's cost us some of our partnerships with some of the OEMs that we've done business with over the years because we build here. And so, because of that, but we're not changing because we do want to keep building here. So, it's a perception thing that, people are changing brands because it's a better one, but the actuality is it's made in China. And so it's easier on the factories overseas and it's easier on the people here, but they're not necessarily getting the same quality product as they would if they were going with SoundTraxx, because I can guarantee you the factories overseas don't test the decoders like we do.
Yep. And when people are all bent out of, bring jobs back to America, let's bring manufacturing back to America, all the people out there, you got to put your money where your mouth is and buy SoundTraxx product, because they're the company that's actually doing it. So if you want to support American jobs, American manufacturing, it may be a little more expensive, but you're getting quality and you're getting, good work, good craftsmanship, and it's a true art. It's not just it doesn't look like anyone could go in there and know what they're doing. I would be lost in there. I would just press the red button. So you definitely have to know what you're doing, and but definitely support the Made in America push, Made in America product. I've been to a lot of other factories, and a lot of people have the comments, oh, well, it should be Made in America, Made in America. So, here's a company that is doing that. So this is your chance to support them. And we sell all SoundTraxx products and all the, there you go, waving the American flag here. And Blackstone models as well. So you could go online and shop at TrainWorld.com. And George, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. And I'm not sure what time it is over by you, but probably up to closing. So thank you for spending
It's
the
pretty
extra
close to
minute.
beer 30.
There you go. There you go. So we're around 7 o'clock Eastern time, and we appreciate you taking the time. But thank you guys out there. And again, you could get all your products at TrainWorld.com.
Yep.
Thanks, George.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right, bye.